Gooner,
fam, what's good? We're back with our post-match review with Murray, our PE Gooner and Supporters Club member, our founder up there in PE. Murray, man, I know we spoke before it, but yeah, North London derby, 2-0 loss to Tottenham away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So as we go into it, the first question I ask everyone is, how you feeling? How you doing? Welcome to the Arsenal support group. We're here for you.
Yeah, let me start off by saying, well done to Spurs. I mean, we've got to give them credit. Those goals were absolutely fantastic. Songs, I was kind of left speechless, but at the same time, there were a lot of words coming out of my mouth. But yeah, no, look, it wasn't exactly the result that I'm sure a lot of Gunners were actually hoping for. But at the same time, like I mentioned in the pre-match one, how do we get upset when we know that we haven't got any creativity going forward? I mean, we can't just all of a sudden pull 5 goals out the bag and expect to win 5-0 or whatever. But, it is what it is. We have to lick our wounds, and hopefully when they come to the Emirates, we will be a lot more sort of stable. We'll be able to sort of take our if we could say, our throne back as the Kings of London. But yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow.
Definitely was, and those goals were really good. You're like the first person to actually credit Tottenham, but as they said, we kind of played into maybe Jose Mourinho's hand, or we just fell into the trap of just trying to attack too much. But do you think the result was kind of like fitting for all the issues that we saw over the past weeks? Like, just Spurs kind of like culminated the event. Wolves was bad and Villa was bad, but now we're just angry because it's like pride along with like 3 points. So you think it's just this kind of like just set everything off, or it was going to happen either way because these issues have just been underlying for so many weeks or months on end?
Look, Mourinho's always had the card against Arsenal, but nothing's changed from when he's been manager at Chelsea. He still plays the same game plan. He sits back, puts men behind the ball, and counters attack. And unfortunately, when we didn't have a creative player such as a Santi Cazorla or an Özil, or somebody to get those balls through to our strikers, we are going to struggle. And I mean, you look at the stats, we dominated in possession. We, I think, had maybe 1 or 2 shots less than them on target. We dominated with tackles. And if you really watch the game, we didn't do that badly. We were all over. We were all over them. We spent most of the game in their half. Our only problem was that we couldn't shoot. And I hear a lot of people complaining about, it's the manager's fault, it's Arteta's fault, but it's not. I mean, if you really watch those highlights again, Bellerin, he couldn't put a pass in. I'm probably jumping ahead on the topics here, but I mean, Bellerin couldn't put a pass in. Saka, as good as he is as a youngster, his final third is absolutely terrible. I still, you look at all the famous number 7s that we've had in that Arsenal shirt. Rocky, Perez, Rosicky, Sanchez. That's the caliber of player that you're looking at the number 7 shirt. Yes, Saka's still young, but then why haven't we given Martinelli the number 7 shirt? Why can't he play on the left? And at least then we've got another striker when he comes back from injury. But Saka is, when we started him off, we played him as a left back. But at the moment, his crosses are not finding their mark at all. I mean, it almost looks like he's just kicking the ball in because he feels like that's what needs to be done. But you look at Tierney, who's crossing the balls in, he's whipping those balls in. And at least if you get something on it, it even provides it gives a threat to the defenders. Yeah. So, Arsenal have got a lot of problems going forward. Aubameyang, oh my word. He had a chance to shoot on his right foot, but he said, and it was on more than one occasion, he cuts in with his left. Why? Why is he cutting in on his left? Take the shot. You know, the commentators are saying Lacazette can hit them from out of the box. Not one person took a shot from out of the box. No one was closing Xhaka down. Should have been taking long-range shots from there. But it's not the manager's fault. The manager can only do so much. The manager can prep them. And I think the tactics, yeah, you know, they were right. A lot of people saying, yeah, but we should have prepared it for the counter-attack. But then if we set up with 4 or 5 at the back, then those same people would have said, but now we're not going forward. So what do you want? I think with 3 at the back and with the wing backs, yes, it was great. It's perfect. It was good tactics. I mean, even Mourinho said, credit to Arteta. He got the tactics right, and Tottenham had to overcome something that they've never faced before. They got us on the counter-attack, but they went down our right wing, which is where Bellerin is. Bellerin's not tracking back. We know that Bellerin's not tracking back. Their second goal came from when Partey was off the field. And Arteta's like, what are you doing? Get back onto the field. But at that time, it was too late. And, you know, it's the players thinking. And I mean, you look at the past North London derbies compared to now, I don't think any one of those players have the same passion. And I think that's the ultimate word that's lacking in the team. It's passion. We celebrate a goal if we score against Tottenham the same way as we'd celebrate a goal against Burnley. It shouldn't be that way. We should be up in the faces of their supporters. We should actually get our voices heard. We need to get our game plan felt on the actual day, and we're not doing that at all. I mean, one of Henry's favorite quotes was, he's never lost a game to Spurs in an Arsenal shirt. And he says he would make sure that that team would not lose the game. Drawing a game, that's fine. Yes, you know, you go back and you lick your wounds and you say what we could have done wrong. But that's the passion that we need. We don't have that passion at the moment. The guys are just playing for their salaries or whatever the case is. So,
where do you think it's lost? Where did this confidence get lost? Where's this passion gone? Do you think it's a combination of the manager, maybe some of the tactics, maybe the freedom not to play? Where do you think personally, we're losing it, you know, the passion on field? We had it a few weeks or months back before the season started. You know, what
yeah, look, you know, we've got that passion, and yes, you know, you can bring up the whole community shield, and the guys were on a winning high. I mean, they've just won the FA Cup 3 weeks before. But I'm talking about the passion where they come out and they're not scared to go into tackles. They're not scared to close down, you know. They've got to give the manager a very difficult decision at 60 minutes. Do I swap a player? If I have to swap a player, are things going to go wrong? Now, Arteta's like, okay, I have to swap a player because this player is not actually performing. Yeah. And he actually took Bellerin off and he had to put another attack on. But where's the passion? The guys are flat-footed. Aubameyang's flat-footed. And I think this all started, I mean, you can bring up, it goes back many years ago, and I think it was just before Wenger left. I think it was probably when we got Sanchez. Not saying that Sanchez was the problem, but I'm talking about Sanchez, and I'm using Sanchez as an example, about the big paycheck. As soon as that big paycheck comes in and the players start wanting more money on a weekly basis, all of a sudden now they're playing for the money, you know, week in, week out. And let's just forget about Ozil. I mean, Ozil he knows about the derbies. It's the old school players. I mean, Podolski is still, you know, on social media sort of saying, you know, come on, you guys, North London's red, whatever the case is. We don't have that anymore. Nowadays, the guys are getting their PR guys or whatever the case may be to post things on their behalf or whatever the case may be. And even Arsenal's social media guys, they keep bringing back the past. They keep showing highlights of the past. We need to forget about the past and we need to focus on what is happening now. How are we as fans going to support the team to make sure that when they come out onto the field, they're playing for the team, they're playing for the club, they're not only playing for themselves? And maybe we need to possibly get rid of, Aubameyang. I know he's just signed a contract and I'm probably not going to be the most favorite fan out there, but he's not performing. I mean, we are 11, 12 games in and he scored 2 goals, and that's been both penalties, or the first one was on the first game of the season and the other was a penalty against Man United. for a striker who's earning 380,000 per week, it's not good enough. But plain and simple, it's really not good enough. And we need that passion. We need to get those guys who are willing to play for the badge and not for the name on the back of the shirt, for whatever the
maybe
case
Tottenham
is.
had that passion. They wanted to win the derby more. Maybe Jose wanted to win it more. Was it that lost us the game? And also, with that being said, how big is the next few games going in, and what needs to change? For us to at least get some results.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think they were still up for the game. I mean, everyone pushed forward, but I think we pushed forward, and then we just weren't willing to track back. Kane. Tottenham can say Kane's one of their own, but I'm sorry to say, there's pictures with him with an Arsenal shirt. He was celebrating Arsenal titles. He trained at Arsenal. Arsenal got rid of him because they said he was a little bit obese. Or, tubby around the face or whatever the case is. So, yes, that's Arsenal's fault. He turned into a great player. Honestly, you can say what you want, but I'm sure Kane is actually playing, and every time he wants to score against Arsenal, simply because it's sort of like, you guys shouldn't have let me go.
Yeah.
It's a massive stab in the back. For the fans, I think the derby means more for the fans. I mean, Song, he performs week in, week out. Even the Tottenham players, they're happy that they scored, but they, I think, went out, and Mourinho probably said this, not only is this the North London derby, but you've got a chance to leapfrog Chelsea and go first. And it really sets us up for a good title challenge. And I think now Spurs are probably going to sit back even more. But, we're not tough enough on the field. And, even going forward, what are we going to do? January is going to be a very difficult time for Arteta. Does he make a decision of either getting rid of players? If he does get rid of players, I'm sure Bellerin's probably on his list. Bellerin's not getting any younger. At least we have Niles as a cover. But, we've got Burnley, and I think, thankfully, Burnley is at home, or we at home, rather, hosting Burnley. It's a tough game, and Burnley's got a point to prove. We're stuck now in a relegation battle with Burnley being one of the teams. Yeah. And, going forward, we need to, I don't know, Aubameyang needs to score, and we need to start getting the ball forward. But we can't do that if, our players are flat-footed. There were times where Saka was standing next to the actual defender, and Rob Holding was looking, and he was like, I can't get the ball forward. Yeah. Saka could have easily run behind and called for the ball, or at least put his hand up, run behind the defender, and you would have had, open goal. Aubameyang could have run ahead just in case he needed the extra pass. We see that stuff, but these guys are professionals. They should be able to see it. And it's thinking that's on the field itself. There were times where the left wing was congested, where Saka he wasn't making the runs forward, and Tierney was just passing the ball straight to him. I can do that. If you guys are going to get paid 70,000 per week, put me on the field, I can pass a ball a meter in front of me, type of thing, So I think there's a hell of a lot of work to do. And I think we need to start toughening up. We need to now be a force to be reckoned with. You look at Kane's, no look, if I could put it, a no look challenge when our guys are up in the air. You watch rugby, you watch the and that stuff. That's a foul in rugby. Rugby is a full-on contact sport. Why are the refs not calling this? If he does it every single game, why are the refs not calling it and calling players out on these, if I could say, little bit of fouls? Because as soon as he goes in on the play, he falls down, holds his head, ref blows the whistle. It's a Tottenham ball, because technically it's a head injury to Kane, or it's a head injury to one of their players. It's not on. So you even look at Liverpool last year. They had these little fouls, or they committed these little fouls just to break up the play. Yeah. We do that, we get a yellow card, and now all of a sudden our player can't tackle, because if they do have to go into a tackle, it's not going to work. Lacazette as well, he was playing in the midfield. We can't play a striker in the midfield. He's got to be there to support Aubameyang. And I think Holberg had him in the pocket, had him in his mind, was playing mind games with him the whole game. And I think that also messed up the whole chemistry. So we need to toughen up on the field. Burnley's always a physical game. So it's going to be one hell of a battle. And, I just hope that the guys can actually pull through. There's been now a lot of talk that they might actually just bring Ozil back in January, which, yes, no, that's fine. But what are we doing next season? Should we now go for Ayor? Should we now go for Dominic? Because now he's potentially he could be now in Europa League. We could face him in Europa League now. So do we buy him now in January to prevent, him from probably causing problems against us if we do have to face him? Or, what do we do? It's we as fans, we don't have much say, but what we do know is that something needs to change. And we need that creativeness in the midfield in order to provide ball to our players. And we need to go down for the middle. I mean, I can't stress it enough. We keep going down the wings and it's not working. I mean, we've been playing this game plan for many years now. We don't have the players for it. If they had pinpoint crosses, fantastic, great, let's do that. At least have it as an option, but we need to go down the middle. And Spurs would have been, the ideal time to actually do it because they were open in the middle.
Yeah.
But sure.
We're not taking that chance, and I think we're all frustrated at seeing these crosses come in. But do you think we're missing the kind of Luiz long ball? And do you think now Pepe returning from the red card will bring another dynamic to Premier League? Or, we just got to hope that he changes his tactics and learns, because Europa has looked like where we're doing quite well, but it's the Premier League. So you think those two players can add a little more to our play? Or what other player changes would you like to see and players getting dropped?
Well, the whole team, just about. But Pepe, yes, it does add a dynamic to the team. However, we should be starting Nelson. If we are looking at, looking for the future, we need to start those Hale in boys. We need to start bringing the youth through. I've heard some supporters say, give Saka a chance. He's still young. He's lacking experience. Okay, but then why aren't we just playing a full team of 11 players and use that as an excuse every single game? If you have the number 7 for the shirt or for the club, then, you've got to live up to that number 7. It's a heavy number to carry at the back of your shirt. Or carry on your back. But, what about Smith Rowe? Why aren't we playing him? Niles should be, potentially starting. Play him at right back. I mean, if he's got to be in right back, if he's got to be in the middle of the park, he will still play that. Eddie, I mean, everyone says, oh, no, we don't trust Eddie, but you're willing to trust Saka. So why? What makes Saka different to Eddie? Because Eddie scores on a regular basis. And yes, like I said, I'm not saying that Saka's not a good player. What I'm saying is that maybe we need to develop him a little bit more. And yes, you need to develop on the field and get that match experience. However,
5 times better with Martinelli paired up with somebody I think that he was better placed with. I think Martinelli, even in Nketiah, that is a valid point. And it's a principle as well. If you're trying this kid out based on certain things, why not try the other kids out based on the same thing? Because there was that issue where if you do something wrong in the team, like when Dozy, for example, he gets dropped and gets isolated, whereas Willian went and did that Dubai thing and then nothing happened to it. So now what's happening in the team there? Is there something to look at? I'm not that type of person to actually pry in those kind of things. But now you're thinking like, look, if people are not performing, they're getting dropped, for example, Pepe. But Bellerin and Willian, the last 3 weeks, they've been a bit shaky, but nobody's dropping them. So, it's understandable why we want to see these guys get changed. But does it work on a different principle for them, or is it for like another principle for somebody else? I don't really know. It's weird what's happening.
I think the guys that are currently playing in the Europa League, they've got a point to prove. I mean, Mari's back. I mean, he's now going to be, at some point, he's going to be trying to break into that first team. Cedric is putting in a hell of a lot of performances. And I think he sees his chance now because he sees that Bellerin now is really struggling. So why not shine in Europa League? If he can start keeping 1 or 2 defense clean sheets in the Europa League, maybe Arteta will start bringing him through. Let's start building that relationship and chemistry within the team. And he's also got a mean boot. I mean, I think he shoots better than Bellerin, to be quite honest. And his crosses are, look, they're not as good as Tierney's, but his crosses are pinpoint. He whips them.
Yeah, and he crosses early. He doesn't try to like do,
Yes.
he gets it into the box at least. But as you said, you need to hit a man. And if you're not hitting the man, it's pointless.
Correct.
We've seen that with
Correct.
5 crosses against Tottenham and 44 against Wolves, So
well, that's it. So like, why are we still using that tactic? And I'm not one, as you say now, for conspiracy theories, but I actually believe that this goes deeper than the manager. One of our supporters says that, supporters said that they think that Arteta signed the contract with certain clauses that you can't mention certain things as to why you can't play Ozil. I mean, Arteta keeps saying, no, it's a football decision. But meanwhile, we know that it's about the whole thing that happened with China and so on and so forth. And honestly, I really think that the Cronkies need to go. We need to get owners into the club who will bring a board in who actually love the club. Forget about profits. I mean, it's a known thing, and they've actually they've flaunted the fact that they're using Arsenal as a profit, as a profit club, and you can see it. I mean, we're getting rid of staff. Yes, it's the COVID, it's the pandemic, but I mean, we're getting rid of staff. They say that no, we've got a blank check of however much, or we've got a blank check for transfers. And when the time comes, it got to a point where we had to sell 5 players just to bring in Lacazette. So the players that we sold only brought in Lacazette at that time. And then we bring in these very cheap players, like say 12 million, 50 million, 20 million. And the maximum amount of money that we spend is like 100 million, but we've only bought in 2 players or 3 players, but we've sold 5 players. And that equates to like 40 million. So technically we only spent 60 million. So why say that we've got a blank check? Why say that the board is backing Arteta with whatever transfer he wants? But then as soon as he says, I want that player, no, sorry, you can't have him. Go look for a cheaper player. I understand that, yes, the club still needs to watch their financial situation, and to make sure that that the club is still viable and could still actually provide, still pay the Premier League or whatever the case may be, however it really works. But I think it actually goes a lot deeper than just on the field. And we saw this with Emery. I'm not blaming Emery, and even with Wenger, the guys eventually didn't want to play.
I was about to mention that, like this hierarchy it kind of, we blame the coach and we blame the players, but there's only 2 commonalities now: the players and the hierarchy. Do you know what I mean?
Correct.
From Wenger's range are a few players that we can, Xhaka and Mustafi and everything. We understand.
Yes.
So we can blame them, but now it's becoming like, because this Arteta out thing and all of this stuff, and it started with me from Wenger out, was we don't understand what's going on, and these managers are being labeled or taking the blame like alone, you know what I mean? And we don't know the inner workings, and as you said, with Ozil and stuff like that. So to be fair, it's these kind of like, now I feel that maybe Guendouzi and Torreira making the move out. Well, we don't know what decisions are made and who's making them, but are they now coming to bite us in the backside, you could say? Because now we're reliant on Joe Willock, Reece Nelson, not experienced guys, to be fair, to run a Premier League midfield, and it's not easy. And lucky we bring in Partey, but I'm saying Partey gets injured, we're reliant on El Neni, Xhaka, Ceballos, Willock. Willock, Ceballos get injured, we just have Xhaka, you know what I mean? Like,
but even then, I mean, you look at, with Partey getting injured, El Neni at least can hold his own. Xhaka as well. I mean, he has his moments, and he seems to be solid in defense. He seems to have like passion a little bit more than most of the rest of the team, and he puts in a shift. But you mentioned Willock, and you mentioned all of these other players, and a lot of people are throwing their toys out the cart about, oh my word, Willock, what is he doing on the field? He can't do anything. But we gave Saka a chance. Why are we not giving then Willock a chance? Look, I'm not saying that Willock is the best player and he is the answer, but once again, you can't say that we need to give the youngsters time and experience. We can't blame them for the stuff ups when you know, you've got players on the bench who are willing to work for the club. And maybe we should do what Man United did in 1992, you know, the class of 92 or whatever the case was, where they brought 7 players through from the youth and they built the team around that. The Beckham, you know, Neville, all of them, and Keane and all of them. Well, Keane wasn't part of that. But, you know, now we've got the Hale-in boys. We've got Maitland-Niles. We've got Eddie. We've got Willock. We've got Saka. Why are we not building a team around that? Even Nelson. I mean, it's a whole English core. Let's build a team around there. Martinelli, we've got our striker up front. We even got our left wing up front. Maybe we need to keep, you know, Eddie on a left back and rotate him with Tierney, and then get a proper left wing in. You know, that's also another option. Maybe play Pepper on the left so he can cross it in. But it all depends on what tactic do you want. Do you want him to shoot? Then play him on the right. But I don't think Willian's the answer. And we, you know, people can't keep making excuses for the players that we have when they forget that we actually gave the youngsters a chance, or Saka at least a chance, and some youngsters a chance. Why are we not giving the other guys a chance? They are trying to put an effort in. They're showing their class in Europa. Yes, the Premier League's a whole other thing, but how do you want them to get experience in the Premier League if we're not willing to actually give them more than 60 minutes or whatever it is?
When you get angry with them, it's kind of hard to get angry with them as well, because our manager, not even Emery, whoever it is, you made that decision to keep the youngsters, not loan them out and use them and let out other players. So essentially, that's all he really has. To be fair, if Xhaka, Ceballos and Partey get injured, Willock and Elneny are our midfield. And Elneny, yes, he has stepped his game up a hell of a lot. And I actually prefer him in the midfield. But to be fair, 5 years back, you wouldn't have said that. And even with Willock, and now today, they could potentially be holding our midfield together if anything goes wrong. And is that the right way to move forward? I know, but like maybe now, because we're growing our team with youth, then sure. But as you said, if you're not going to play these kids frequently, like Nelson, Willock, Saka, maybe Nketiah, 4 of them playing as like the diamond, you know, where they can get used to playing with each other on the pitch together, it kind of defeats the purpose of having this great academy. You know, with Smith Rowe, I feel Smith Rowe definitely needs a chance. Like every time he came up to Europa, he made a difference. And look, they always say it's lesser teams, but this guy's a kid. He's like 18. So no matter, it's like those guys are like 30, 28, you know, and he's still doing well. Even Balugan, also that turn and shoot, you know. So you are right. And I think maybe the defense, but Mari Gabriel, very young. Tierney, I think the right, Bellerin didn't step up. And Suarez, the problem is with me is if Bellerin gets injured, we have Cedric. If Cedric gets injured, we have no right back. And I think that's the issue.
We've got Niles.
Yeah, Niles.
We've got Niles.
But
we've got Chambers.
Oh yes, Chambers. Yes, Chambers.
We've got Chambers. We've got Holding. We've got cover for our defense. We sorted with defense, and that's what Arteta came in. He sorted the defense out. He bought the cover for the defense. Even if that right back, we don't necessarily have a right wing, but we can always just play them as a whole, like, you know, a full-on right back, plain and simple. Change the tactics slightly. But, you know, Smith Rowe, even before he got injured, he was great.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, Arsenal were pushing like these guys, the Willocks, the Smith Rowes, the Nketiahs, everybody, you know, a couple of seasons ago with all their social medias about check this guy out in the Arsenal Academy. And then all of a sudden he gets put into the first team and now we don't play them. Why? You know, and Elneny, yes, a couple of years ago, we were like, oh my word, Elneny, why are we putting him in the team? But the problem is, though, what we didn't realize is that he may not be the most creative player. He may not be an impact player, but he does the basics right. He'll get a pass off. He will tackle, and he will do whatever that actually needs to be done on the field. He may not necessarily give this wonderful through ball, but he does the basics right. And that's something we don't have. The guys are passing the ball, we're flat-footed, and they're waiting for the ball to come through. And next thing, we get or the other team gets an interception. It doesn't work like that. And we need to start getting the basics right.
And I think that touches on to the kids, because they're actually doing that in Europa. And I don't see it not happening in Premier League. But yeah, we'll just have to wait to see. But just on a lighter note, you know, how good is it to have Martinelli back? playing yesterday. I think it was for the under-21. You know, I know that's a kind of a win for us. You know, we haven't had one in a while, and I think, well, what do you think that actually brings for us? And then also touching going forward now, December is going to be crazy. I think our next big game is Chelsea. So does every game lead up to us playing Chelsea? And is it synonymous that Martinelli comes back just before we face Chelsea? You know,
I don't think he'll repeat what he did last time, but
hopefully because there was a red card there. You know, so you don't want.
I think it's I think it's a big win for us as a club, or as supporters and the team as well. But you know, I really hope we don't put too much pressure on him. He's not going to be the same Martinelli. I think he's going to take a time. I think we'll probably see his real best probably next season. I can't see him pushing or coming straight back into the team. Yes, he only played 45 minutes, and you know they happened to lose that game. I mean, geez, even though the academy guys are losing games, but or failing to score. So you know what is happening. Like I didn't expect it. If he had scored on his comeback, great, fantastic. But I mean, it was an ACL injury. That's something you know you don't come back very quickly from, and especially in the footballing world. So I think give him time, give him a bit of space. You know, if need be, you know, start him. We play City coming up as well in the Carling Cup. So I mean, I wouldn't even say keep him for the Carling Cup games, but you know, start him off slow. Give him 10 minutes here, then maybe give him one half, and then give him 60 minutes. You know, and build him up slowly but surely. And I think that's a mistake that we did. I think Arteta was really trying to find something in the midfield and try and find that Man United performance with Partey in the middle. But I think we brought him back too early, and look, now we're suffering the consequences. You know, rather we could have maybe played El Nani, you know, first half, and then maybe Partey for the last 20 minutes, or you know, if we really needed it. So yeah, no, it's a big one, but you know, at the same time, we haven't got to that point where we can actually smile about it. You know, hopefully we can turn that around against Burnley, and we can maybe get a bit of luck. But oh man, I'm struggling to see where the goals are going to come from at the moment. And we've got it's not coming from the left, it's not coming from the right. I think there needs to be a whole attitude change. And you know, the Arteta can say whatever he wants. I mean, Arteta can throw money at them and say, listen guys, if you don't perform, then you're not going to get this money. At the end of the day, they still, you know, you still need to get out there and perform. And Arteta's not the one who's making the decisions on the field, it's the players. I mean, you've got the ball at your feet, you decide whether or not you're going to run into space or you're not going to run into space, and we're not doing that, so we're not going to score.
Yeah, it's tough. I think we just need a goal right now in Premier League just to make us happy, like one nice goal too. I think Pepe is going to bring it for us on Saturday. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be a nervy December, you know, so not the Christmas we used to. But Murray.
Well, we hope. You never know.
Yeah. But thanks so much, Murray. Thanks for coming on and sharing your thoughts after the Tottenham defeat. You know, but we're on to the next one. Yeah, Dundalk, then Burnley. And it's me, Keish, and it's Murray. It's Gooner Cast SA. We out. Cheers.